Democratic governance completes 1 year.
මට අවශ්‍ය වන්නේ ඉදිරි 5 සසරක කාලයකට පසු මට හිමි තැන නොව මේ රට තියෙන ස්ථානය පිළිබඳවයි මේ රට මොන ආකාරයකට තිබී කියන කාරණාව.
Presidential pardon to the convict who attempted to assassinate the president.
National Authority to Protect Victims of Crimes and Witnesses established.
7 years since the killing of senior journalist Lasantha Vikramatunga.
A very good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on NTV and Shakti TV. Come to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Ramesh Rugal Bandara and tonight I'm joined by Aishwarya Pito. Good evening, Aishwarya.
Good evening.
Well, it's been 1 year since the silent revolution that shook the country and changed the course of our entire country. From common candidate to executive president, tonight we will be taking a look back at the journey of President Maithripala Sirisena.
We bring you details of the main event on the other side of this. Today marks 1 year since Maithripala Sirisena was elected as the president of the country.
Now, the main event to mark the first year anniversary of the establishment of the democratic rule of good governance took place at the Bandaranayake Memorial International Conference Hall.
The national ceremony marking the 1 year completion of democratic governance led by President Maithripala Sirisena was held at the BMICH this afternoon. The keynote address was delivered by Gopalakrishna Swamy, who was a former Indian High Commissioner for Sri Lanka and grandson of freedom fighter Mahatma Gandhi. Well, the red carpet was rolled out for representatives and dignitaries from diplomatic missions to civil societies to participate at the ceremony today.
A photo exhibition was organized to mark the 1 year anniversary of the establishment of democratic governance. The national event was graced by President Maithripala Sirisena, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga and many others. The national event to mark the 1 year anniversary, which was attended by foreign delegates, diplomats, ministers and MPs, was filled with religious and cultural events. When I was travelling with Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, he said that we are very lucky. Two parties have come together to form a government. And if this continues, Sri Lanka will be the leading nation in the region. Yesterday, the President and I attended the Economic Forum. After looking at the international economy, it was said that if this national government continues, no matter how bad the international economy becomes, Sri Lanka will be able to move ahead. A year ago, a nation that was cast aside with no hope has now moved forward. All political processes have commenced. 365 days. Tomorrow Parliament will convene and the Constitutional Assembly will be drafted. That is where good governance will play an integral role. Are we going to move forward with a new attitude? Or are we going to be trapped within the politics that was rejected by the people? Are we going to be stuck in the puddle of mud? That is what will be decided tomorrow. A compilation of documents prepared by the Government Information Department and the Presidential Secretariat was presented to the President at this event. The keynote address was delivered by Gopalakrishna Gandhi, a civil servant and a diplomat who served as the Indian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka and South Africa. Gopal Krishna Gandhi is grandson of the pioneer of the Indian independence struggle, Mahatma Gandhi.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is good to be smart, but it is smarter to be good in the long term. The difficulty is one lives not in the long term, but in the short term. And that short term is the arena for the illiberal undemocrat to do his little acts of violence to democracy, to republicanism, to civil liberties, human rights, and get away with several crimes, including murder.
I do not have a political agenda for myself. I only have a political agenda for the nation. I must make it clear that making the dream of building our motherland in the next 5 years is my agenda and yours. With the completion of 1 year, we speak of making constitutional changes. Some say that the government is attempting to divide the country into two. They say that Buddhism will lose its place. Some say that national security will be in jeopardy. I wish to tell that what we are attempting to do is not what they say, but of what they cannot see and what they do not understand. Many can do what is simple. Many can do what is easy. However, we must also place our hands on what is deemed as a challenge and what is a risk for the betterment of the society, the country and the motherland. I will embrace all the challenges, and with my sacrifices I will fulfill my responsibilities and duties. If one asks me what is the most happiest day of my life, I would say that the 21st of December 2014, the day I stepped out of the government, letting go of all positions, is that day. It is imperative that we make tomorrow a better one. The people of today must have a just society. The children of tomorrow, be it from the north, east, south or west, must be given an environment which will be peaceful and where freedom will be enjoyed in happiness. No matter what the challenge is, I will not step back in making a decision to create change and will take action at the appropriate time.
A significant moment at this event was the former LTTE member Sivaraj Jenivan, who was convicted of an assassination attempt on the life of the president when he was a minister in 2005, was pardoned by President Maithripala Sirisena.
சுதந்திர காற்றை சுவாசிக்க ஆரம்பித்திருக்கின்றார் எங்கள் மேதகு ஜனாதிபதியின் கருணையினால்.
Forgiveness is an entrenched norm of our culture. Today we hope to honor that norm. Sri Lanka experienced a treacherous incident. That incident was none other than the LTTE's attempted assassination of today's President Maithripala Sirisena. Sivaraja Geneva.
President Maithripala Sirisena presided over a number of events that were organized to mark the first year anniversary of the establishment of democratic governance.
President Maithripala Sirisena paid homage to the historic Kaluthara Bodhi and obtained blessings this morning. Ministers and MPs were among those present for the event. The President also planted a sandalwood sapling at the premises of the Kaluthara Bodhi. The land of the Kaluthara Bodhi will be handed over to the Board of Custodians of the Kaluthara Bodhi through a charter on a 99-year release. Chairman of the Board of Custodians of the Kaluthara Bodhi, Ajit D'Souza, accepted the document from the President. President Maithripala Sirisena also attended the 170th birth anniversary celebrations of the late SWRD Bandaranaike, the founder of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. A group including former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumartunga, seniors of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, were present to lay floral tribute to the Bandaranaike statue at the Gorface Green.
Sri Lanka Nidahas Paksheta Janawari මාසේ 8 වෙනිදා කියලා කියන්නේ.
For the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, the 8th of January is the commemoration of the late Bandaranaike and the day that the challenge was accepted to steer this country towards change and victory. As a party, we can be proud about that fact. The people of this country, casting aside racial and political difference, speak of Bandaranaike. President Maithripala Sirisena is one who worked with the policies of Bandaranaike. We can be proud that as we mark 1 year since he became president, the policies of Bandaranaike are being implemented in the country.
President Maithripala Sirisena visited the Sri Nagavihara in Kotte this morning and called on the Mahanayaka of the Kotte Samagiri Mahasangha Council, Venerable Itthapane Dhamma Lankaratera, and obtained blessings. The President also planted a sandalwood sapling at the premises of the temple. The President paid floral tributes to the late Venerable Madulu Ave Sobadathera, who was a pioneer in the establishment in the government of good governance. Wheelchairs and prosthetic limbs were distributed by the President in memory of the late Venerable Madulu Ave Sobadathera. Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena launched the Tell the President and Janapati Hadamima program at the Presidential Secretariat to mark the one-year completion of the democratic governance established under his leadership. The objective of the program is to create a government that is responsive. Citizens can submit their complaints and grievances direct to the President through the Tell the President program via telephone by dialing 1919 or addressing a letter to 129 Colombo, and also through a smartphone and via the internet and email.
This program was organized to make the fundamentals of good governance a reality. That is to make it more responsive and efficient. This was launched based on his concept, and this historic development drive will be very important in this second year.
Many other events were organized to mark the first-year anniversary of the installation of President Maithripala Sirisena and the democratic rule of good governance.
A tree planting ceremony organized by the Prime Minister's office took place this morning. The event was graced by the Secretary to the Prime Minister. Minister of Resettlement, Reconstruction and Hindu Religious Affairs D.M. Swaminathan presided over a religious event held at the Sri Ponnambalavaneshwara Kovil in Kuchikade this morning.
Today we held a special puja for the first year anniversary of the President's installation. The country has seen restoration over this past 1 year. The country has seen development. The Tamils and the Muslims in the north and east should be given a better future. And in the coming years, the country must see a better future.
A tree planting ceremony also took place at the Finance Ministry under the auspices of Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayaka. An eye clinic and blood donation campaign was organized at the Ministry of Housing and Construction to mark the occasion and was presided over by Minister Sajith Premadasa.
The war heroes who rendered a historic service for the country are still facing an issue over housing, and this is a disappointing situation. This year, the ministry hopes to implement a separate national program to solve the housing issue of the war heroes. At a time when we are celebrating the first year anniversary of the installation, we have not organized any carnivals or musical shows. There is no unnecessary waste of state funds. Today, our objective is to enhance the services to the country from the ministry.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon added his wishes on the day that marks the first anniversary of Sri Lanka's political transition.
In a statement, the spokesman for the UN Secretary General says he is encouraged by the government's commitment to a broad reform agenda that aims to realize durable peace, stability and prosperity for the Sri Lankan people. The Secretary General acknowledges the initial steps the government has taken to strengthen good governance, advance reconciliation and implement the resolution of the Human Rights Council of October 2015. The Secretary General supports the government's efforts to advance a nationwide dialogue to achieve a long-term political settlement acceptable to all.
It's been 1 year since Maithripala Sirisena was elected as the 6th executive president of the country. Here's a look back at the journey undertaken by President Maithripala Sirisena from common candidate to executive president.
After the 2015 presidential elections were announced, the then Minister of Health and General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Maithripala Sirisena, made an unprecedented move to become the common candidate together with the collective of major opposition political parties.
I will definitely win the presidential election with the support of the people and their votes.
The battle for the presidency drew to a close with Maithripala Sirisena being elected as the 6th executive president of Sri Lanka.
ඒ අනුව මෙවර 2015 ජනාධිපතිවරණයේ ජයග්‍රාහකයා වන්නේ මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මහතායි.
The president and the prime minister were elected from the two major political parties of the country. These two parties came together to bring about the consensual government, and over the past 1 year, the concept was made a reality. At a time when there was political transformation in the country, Sri Lanka appeared at the United Nations Human Rights Council and saw Sri Lanka gain victory at the session. During the past year, many international leaders met with the president and promised to support Sri Lanka's new political journey. As promised, President Maithripala Sirisena also took measures to create constitutional amendments.
ඒ අනුව 19 වන ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධනයේ 3 වන වර කියවීම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ සම්මත වුණා. ජයග්‍රහණය වෙනුවෙන් කැප වූ සියලු පාර්ශ්ව වෙත ජනාධිපති මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මහතා නිවේදනයක් නිකුත් කරමින් ස්තුතිය පළ කර තිබෙනවා.
ඔබේ නිල කාලයෙන් පසුව අවුරුදු 5කට පස්සේ
Some ask me, what would be my status and position after the end of my 5-year tenure? To those who ask that question for me and to those who don't, I would like to remind them that what I need is not the position that I would have in the next 5 years, but for the place that this country would be and how this country would be.
මේ රට මොන ආකාරයට තිබී සිටී කියන කාරණාව.
Today also marked the second and final day of the Sri Lanka Economic Forum 2016, which was held in Colombo.
Day 2 of the Sri Lanka Economic Forum 2016 was allocated for the youth. The session was held under the guidance of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Harsha De Silva and Nobel Laureate economist Professor Joseph Stiglitz. Young politicians, entrepreneurs and economists were among those who were present for today's forum. At the forum, Professor Joseph Stiglitz highlighted that prosperity cannot be achieved by merely embracing market systems and that it is confirmed that America and the chief economies face major economic problems. He also said that a formal state regulation should be allowed in the market to experience long-lasting development.
And finally, the real question is not economics, it's politics. I think we know the economics. The real question is, will our political system, and I say this in the United States, but it's true of most other countries as well, there are obviously vested interests who don't want the kinds of changes that would enable one to have this kind of shared prosperity. So in the end, the hard task is not for us economists. In many ways, the hard task is for the political process. Can one get through these kinds of changes that are necessary?
A high-level discussion with the Norwegian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Borg Brende, was held in Colombo yesterday.
The discussion, which was organized by the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, was attended by several business leaders, both local and international.
I'm convinced that enhanced commercial cooperation between our countries is in our mutual interest. And there are several reasons for Norwegian businesses to pursue opportunities in Sri Lanka, seen from my viewpoint. Sri Lanka has successfully made the transition from a low income to a middle income country. I also discussed with your Prime Minister that the future for your country lies in the modernization of the economic sector and opening up for foreign investments. And Norway really would like to be a partner with you in this endeavor.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa called on the Mahanayakas of the Askeri and Malwata chapters in Kandy today.
The former president visited the Malwata Mahavihara this morning and called on the Mahanayaka of the Malwata chapter, the most venerable Tibbatuwave Sri Sumangala Thero. Later, Mahinda Rajapaksa visited the Askeri Mahavihara and called on the Mahanayaka, the most venerable Galagama Atadasi Thero. Following the meeting, the former president spoke to the media. There is no action. What you see is good governance. That is what you call good governance. Although they speak now, we know what happened. Those who speak are the ones who were in my cabinet and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. They were in the cabinet of the alliance for 9 years, and now I am the one who is wrong. Everyone sees the wrongs of the former government. They need to take collective responsibility if they were in the cabinet. Today, they speak like saints.
The National Authority for the Protection of Victims of Crime and Witnesses was established today.
The unveiling of the plaque was presided over by the President and saw the participation of the Commissioner of the Human Rights Commission and ministerial officials. The National Authority for the Protection of Victims and Witnesses of Crime will be established under the provisions of the Assistance to and Protection of Victims of Crime and Witnesses Act No. 4 of 2015. The authority was also mentioned in the manifesto of President Maithripala Sirisena before he was elected as President.
During last 1.5 century, at least, that we have, especially our legislature has enacted laws. Basically the laws to regulate our legal system and also to ensure the legal protection to each and every citizen, including the offenders or the criminals in this land. But unfortunately, the legislature has never thought about the rights of the victims and witnesses. Finally, as we promised to the people in our election manifesto too, now we have established the Victims and Witnesses Protection Authority, which will definitely enhance the quality of our judgments in the court of law.
This morning, a memorial service was held at Lasantha Wickramatunga's graveside.
An event to commemorate the late Lasantha Wickramatunga was held today at the Borella Cemetery. Relatives, political colleagues and friends were present at the event. When Lasantha was killed, we were in the opposition. However, today we are in the government. Justice has not been meted out as yet. It is still unclear what resulted in his untimely death. That is why we would like to state that as a government, we would unite in order to investigate this crime and make sure that justice is meted out. Justice has not been meted out for Lasantha as yet. It is very clear that achieving justice is still very far away. No one will present justice to you at your feet. You have to fight for it. I do not think that justice will be meted out to Lasantha under the current political environment.
Lasantha died in the pursuit of the truth, and it is a strange paradox that 7 years later, and in spite of the fact that it is the UNP, the party of choice for Lasantha, that is now partly in power, and we are still waiting for results.
It is really sad though that even after 7 years we have still not had any answers to this brutal murder, and everybody in this country, the people who loved him, his family, his children and all the media in this country are all hoping that at least this year, the new government is just completing 1 year, we are hoping that this year we will find closure to this murder. New investigations are being carried out on incidents that took place against journalists. Last year, the Criminal Investigations Department commenced new investigations. We have learned that while a number of issues have surfaced through this, solutions have also been found. But we would like to see some clear progress taking place, because that would create trust in the public that this government is taking steps to mete out justice to journalists as well as to the public. That trust will be built only if clear progress can be seen. That kind of clear progress is now the need of the hour.
Today marks 7 years since the death of journalist, politician and humanitarian Lasantha Wickramatunga.
Lasantha Wickrematunge founded the Sunday Leader newspaper to uphold the values of truth and justice and lived by the words he wrote, never failing to expose injustice no matter the context. He was a veteran in investigative journalism, inspiring and mentoring many others to uphold high standards and ethics in their work. Lasantha fearlessly raised his voice in condemnation of the attacks on the MTV-MBC Depanamo studio complex 48 hours before his assassination.
I wholeheartedly condemn this terroristic attack on the Sirius MTV Shakti stations. We as media personnel will have to face up to this challenge. This is not the first time media organizations have come under attack, and it certainly won't be the last. But we as media personnel must face up to this challenge, not be bowed down under whatever threats and intimidation, and unitedly face this threat.
Those in power fear those with words penning the truth, and Lasantha knew this, eerily foreshadowing his own death in his final editorial. He was killed on the Dehiwala Aptidia road on his way to work on the 8th of January 2009. He was posthumously awarded the UNESCO Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Award, the first Asia Media Award for Press Freedom, the International Press Institute's World Press Freedom Hero Award, American National Press Club's Press Freedom Award, and Harvard University's Nieman Foundation's Award for Conscience and Integrity in Journalism. 7 years later, we still await a full investigation into his death. In his final editorial, "And Then They Came for Me," Lasantha wrote, "Let there be no doubt that whatever sacrifices we journalists make, they are not made for our own glory or enrichment. They are made for you. Whether you deserve their sacrifice is another matter. As for me, God knows I tried."
On to other local news now. Andrew Fowler Watt was appointed as the principal of Trinity College, Kandy today.
Founded in 1872 under the guidance of a number of highly respected principals, Trinity College, Kandy has produced hundreds of high-profile figures for Sri Lanka. The new principal, Andrew Fowler Watt, was installed today by the Bishop of Colombo, Right Reverend Diloraj Kanagasabe, who is also the chairman of the Board of Governors of Trinity College, Kandy.
It is a great honour to have been installed as the principal of Trinity College, Kandy, and I will do my utmost to ensure that the school remains at the forefront of education in Sri Lanka. It's a wonderful school with a tremendous history and tradition, and I will do my very best to maintain that whilst moving the school forward in a sensible and exciting way. So I'm looking forward to getting to know everybody, and particularly the boys, and I'm also looking forward to watching lots of good rugby and lots of good cricket.
A number of religious leaders, principals of schools, members of the Board of Governors and distinguished personnel were present at the event.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Ramesh Rugal Bandara.
And I'm Aishwarya Pinto. Good night.